curiosity killed the cat. Hopefully it won't kill me. So I'm used to deep rooms, not wide rooms, you know. Stephen Wright, the comedian, some people are afraid of heights. He says he's afraid of widths. Okay, so we're going to talk about artificial intelligence in retail. And it's a snapshot. I've got lots of content I'd like to give you. I might talk too fast. If you want the slides, let's make sure you get them. There's a lot of content on them. So a couple weeks ago, I thought I was going to have a hip replacement. Right? Turns out I just needed a cortisone shot, and I'm fine. So instead of me thinking, well, what's an artificial hip? And how does an artificial hip compare to artificial intelligence? Well, an artificial hip just helps you do something that you ought to be able to do normally. It restores a function that you've lost. Artificial, and it's to your person, right? You don't share your hip with anybody else. Artificial intelligence, on the other hand, augments what we can do, not just me, but what we can do as teams, and it increases our capabilities to perform feats that we otherwise could not perform. What's an analogy to that, in historically speaking? It's the pulley. You know, the pulley allows us to pull a lot more because of the mechanics of whatever. I'm not a mechanical engineer, I can't explain it, but two different differences. So we hear, how many of you have heard the term digital transformation? Okay, how many of your companies are embarked upon a digital transformation journey? Oh, hands sort of go up. Do we all know what it means? Okay, well, here's our definition of what it means. There's transformation of it, right? And it's core transformation of business processes, it's sources of innovation, right? To improve financial performance. We're going to innovate around experiences. We're going to modernize the underlying systems and so forth. We're going to transform decision making, how we make decisions. It used to be about process reengineering. Now it's about improving how we make decisions. And we're going to do that with technology. Why are we going to do it with technology? Well, because it's available. We have lots of technology capabilities that we've never had in the past. It's being consumerized. It's being democratized. It's available to us. The barriers to entry to utilize technologies are lower. And we've got great proof points, rapid acceleration of the adoption of things like IoT, robotics, 3D printing, and artificial intelligence. So we're going to talk about the last of those today. So everything is changing in retail, right? Everything. The store, fundamentally different, right, than it's been before. Changed more in the past couple years than it's changed in decades. Third generation of e-commerce, omni-channel fulfillment, and new merchandising strategies like endless aisle, and all kinds of new product sourcing, product development, product delivery opportunities are coming forward. And that's driving a need for transformation of core business systems to support that. Folks that are engaged in digital transformation and supply chain and IoT, we're seeing them getting 34% of people are active there, and 24% of retailers are active with big data and artificial intelligence. So why are we doing this? Why artificial intelligence? How many people have used Siri? How many people have used Alexa? How many people have used Google Home or an Amazon app? Right? How many of you never want to use any of them again? Okay, there's always one in every crowd, right? Our lives are a little easier, and we're demanding these things. We're expecting these things. I like to say that as a consumer, my best experience anywhere is my minimum expectation everywhere. Anywhere best, everywhere minimum. These things are providing some minimum experiences that we now expect of our retailers. So why are those things able to do and provide the experience to our customers that they're providing? Because behind them, these companies like Google and Amazon and Facebook and Apple and others are deploying these technologies that are at the heart of artificial intelligence. They don't manifest themselves as science projects. We just see them, we consume them in our daily lives. And they're creating fundamental changes in the shopping and consumer experience. They're also creating fundamental changes in how we optimize our supply chains, and how we merchandise our stores. I'll be talking about that in a moment. So at IDC, we do predictions. Every year, we lay out, with respect to retail, 10 major developments that are going to transform how retailers need to look at their businesses. We call them decision imperatives over the next 12 to 36 months. And with respect to artificial intelligence, we think it will have a fundamental impact on how merchants, knowledge workers generally, right? Merchants, marketers, planners, and people in store operations, including store associates, who are more and more knowledge workers, right, are going to be doing their job. The nature of work is changing. And we think that there'll be improving productivity of 30% across a variety of ranges, across a range of different occupations and types of jobs, and KPIs of the KPIs against which artificial intelligence technologies are deployed will improve by 20% by companies who are starting to use these technologies. So what is AI? Right? What is it? Well, IBM started talking about understand, reason, and learn. Right? And learning is fundamental. Right? We often use the term machine learning to talk about artificial intelligence. And a machine learns as humans learn when it does a task better the second time after the first time, and better the third time after the second time, as measured by some sort of observable metric. So learning is fundamental. But there are other dimensions of artificial intelligence that need to be understood, right? The first is ingestion. Okay, so Saturday night, copious quantities of data, right? Copious quantities of data that come in that we can ingest from a variety of different sources that are inside the organization, that are from the marketplace, that are from competitors. They're typically digital sources that are proprietary or they're public, and they come in different form factors and varieties and velocities. So we can ingest all that data. We can understand that data and reason through it to drive through to make estimates, to make predictions, and to predict outcomes, and to understand relationships between one event and an outcome. There's a lot of data science that happens there. Now, this is when the interesting stuff happens. I said they have to learn, but artificial intelligence has to interact with us, right? IBM has coined the term cognitive to describe Watson and what it's doing in artificial intelligence. Cognitive is only one part of our life, right? We are emotional people, we're expressive people, we're communicative people. I think a much more apt term to describe artificial intelligence in this regard is that it's participatory rather than cognitive. Artificial intelligence will evolve soon to have the ability to interact with teams, to help teams work better. I've seen a prototype of an example where the AI bot was able to say, you know, we need Joe here to make this decision because the type of information that's needed is the type of information that's on Joe's desk. So let's get Joe to make sure we can't make the decision without him. And AI systems have to be able to explain themselves. We all have the black box problem. People talk about the open box, the gray box, the glass box. What needs to be able to explain itself, not in terms of only with respect to algorithms or coefficients or mechanical formulas that a statistician like Charlie would understand, but in natural language or languages that a business person, a subject matter person would understand. So explanation. So if you want to, I call I early, ingest, understand, reason, learn, interact, and explain. When people are starting to talk to you about artificial intelligence, you look at what they're doing, what they're trying to sell you with these couple things. Then you got to digest this slide. There's a lot of content. This is a pretty dense slide. I apologize for that. But this is our model from IDC, International Data Corporation, what our point of view of artificial intelligence is, right? So let's start from the core and work out to the perimeters. The core is where the data science happens and the advanced analytics. So there are these components of AI solutions. Machine learning sits there. of hypothesis generation, natural language processing, speech recognition, predictive analytics, machine learning, and image analysis. Those are the components of an artificial intelligence solution. Outside of that are platforms. Watson's a platform. Google has a platform. Microsoft has a platform. Facebook has a platform. And of course, Amazon has a platform. Many other companies, IPsoft has a platform. Lots of different AI software platforms that are coming forward. These are mills, if you will. We need content and data to drive through them. That's the next ring, right? And that's really important. The content and data needs to be appropriate to your business, and and it's of a variety of forms. And then out of those, we're seeing at IDC the emergence of 4 different types of applications that are coming forward to help solve business problems. Up in the upper right-hand corner, we have industry-oriented applications, and these are I've really focused on retail types of applications here, where we see AI coming forward. Demand planning and forecasting, assortment localization, lifetime customer value and churn analysis, customer insights, journey optimization. Advertising will be obviously one that we'll see coming forward, and self-flying drones and robotic systems and others. A long range of things. So I had this conversation with this gentleman, Ernan, earlier today. How do we operationalize machine learning in retail, right? Well, today, we have to do it with the utilization of lots of data scientists. That's a very rare talent. And we also have to combine that with subject matter expertise, line of business people who understand the content. So there's a balance that's going to work out there. And I think over time, while today we're heavy on data science, going forward, the data science will get easier. That's kind of not a lot of people don't agree with me. But if you think about when if you're old enough to have bought an MS-DOS machine, right? And you compare how hard that was to operate compared to a current version machine and the power of today's machines versus that, you don't need to, it's a lot easier to run. So subject matter expertise will become more important. And the other way to drive value out of this is to embed machine learning into processes and applications. So we get the decision making into systems themselves so they become self-correcting. Okay. This is a message to all the vendors in the room, okay? Vendors write code, and development organizations inside companies write code. And code's been the really important thing going, until now, because without code, you couldn't do stuff, right? Well, now we've got machines that learn. What do they learn on? They learn on data. Who's got the data? The customers, the retailers, the CPG companies have the data. So the data becomes where value is going to be created based on what will become more and more commoditized data science. And it's data plus code plus data that's going to drive insights for innovation. And I see the emergence of innovation and insight services, data as a service as we call it, but now insights as a service coming forward. Okay, I set up with these last couple slides some of the constructs of what artificial intelligence is. Excuse me. Last 2 days I've been having. Thank you. So there are a variety of techniques that I've shown on the left here that have been parts of artificial intelligence or aspects or types of artificial intelligence and the way that they've been applied and some of the benefits that companies have realized through the applications of these. There's no need to go through and read all of these in particular, but they are impressive, right? They're impressive because of the magnitude of the benefits that have been achieved, right, and the range of use cases in which they have been achieved, right? I'll just say, you know, sales revenue increases of 18%, 16% improvements in margin, and 20% reduction in surplus inventory stock, right? Now, the companies where these were achieved weren't companies that were laggards. They're already good companies that were doing pretty well. And with the addition of artificial intelligence, they've been able to do even better. So where do we put those pieces of data into a broader context of where retail is going and how retailers can use artificial intelligence to drive return on investment? There's behavioral economics and other techniques. We think hyper-market, hyper-micro-personalization is going to be very important. Omnichannel fulfillment and supply chain is another area. Merchandise planning, assortment planning, localization, range and depth and space utilization will be important. And omnichannel orchestration, which is the ability to combine localized assortments with an endless aisle strategy with next day delivery and fulfillment. That's omnichannel orchestration. Plenty of opportunities on all of those. So here are some examples. I often ask this question, right? So if you had $1 more to spend, and you could spend it on improving your forecast accuracy, or you could spend it on improving your agility, where would you spend your money? Agility. That's the right answer. Okay. So this is my last slide. And I've actually really flown through this a lot faster than I had anticipated I would. So before I just go to the last slide, can we have questions? I've done a lot. Any questions out in the audience? Yes?
Given all of the research and the work that you're doing, can you give some examples of where AI is being used in combination with human intervention and human level to improve the customer experience?
The question is, where have I seen AI applied with human contributions, if you will, to improve the human experience? Yeah, this is a really interesting one. It's actually in communications, right? There are capabilities that can go out and help understand the emotional content of an email subject line, or the emotional content of text in a communication, or the personality that's embedded in the text that has been written, right? And machines there are machines that can compose sentences, but or statements, even newspaper articles, as we saw Amazon doing in 2000, was started in 2004. But they're actually working as editors, if you will, right, to reply back and let you know what the emotional content of your subject line is. And also understand, here, I'll flip that around to another example. Super Bowl advertiser Kia, the automotive company, had a Super Bowl ad with a movie star, Christopher Walken. Christopher Walken, is that right? And they wanted to amplify the effect of that ad through social media. So there was a particular personality profile of the consumer that they wanted to attract to this car through this advertising campaign. So they figured, well, let's go and find bloggers that will pay whose personalities are like those of the customers that we want to identify. So they went out and they utilized the technology. They read in all the bloggers' content, right? And then the AI system expressed what the personalities of these bloggers were, and they identified the bloggers whose personalities matched up with their intended with the customers that they wanted to reach through the social media campaign, right? They got a 300% improvement in the effect of the program, and they had like an 87% hit rate on the type of personality that they wanted to attract. So that's a human activity, right, that was augmented by And there's a lot of iteration, right? You just don't throw it over there, but you need to talk to the bloggers, engage the bloggers, develop a business relationship with them. So I don't know. I hope that was an example. Any other questions about how this would work? Yes, sir.
Do you see machine learning replacing humans, like for merchandising or things that are being done now by?
This is the classic art and science question, right? No, not replace, make them smarter, make them better, right? So here's a way. So how do you localize an inventory assortment to a store? Well, when it's a different model than localizing or personalized inventory presentation on a website, right? Because then you know who it is, and it's really one-to-one. But we're seeing companies talk about understanding what the personality, the attributes of their assortment is, and utilize machine learning to understand what the attributes of the customers are who are shopping that store, and matching up the attributes of the products and the assortments to the attributes of the shoppers who are shopping those stores, and using those analytics to improve the localization and fit of a local assortment to the shoppers who are there. Okay? So in this slide, I've laid out some of the types of insights that can be created towards exactly that end. And I wanted to finish up with a couple comments about, I call this my sunrise slide, right? And it's founded, this is trying to express what we see as the key driver for a customer insight-driven retailing model. So there's intelligence that's about human beings, right? About how we behave and our emotions and how we buy and how we use stuff, how we get value out of it. That can be created through some of these analyses here. And that creates the insight. Out of that, we need to develop a go-to-market strategy, which is the overall value of the proposition that we're delivering to consumers. And it may be expressed in terms of convenience, location, price, assortment, product attributes, the way we communicate to our customers and the like. And then that's complemented by a set of AI opportunities. There will be the emergence of artificial intelligence technologies for operational intelligence and financial intelligence in order to make better those go-to-market strategies through our commerce offerings, or our channels, through our marketing efforts, through merchandising and supply chain. And it's all wrapped behind customer engagement. Does artificial intelligence scare anybody? Does it leave you cold? Does it excite you? Does it excite your companies? It does? Is there a lot of chatter in your companies about AI? Should there be? Is there enough? Are any of the conversations you're hearing in your halls, does it sound anything like what I've described? Is there any sort of intersection?
It's so on the cusp that for retailers navigating what they're navigating now with store closures and channel shifts and all that, and AI is expensive, very iterative, and fails frequently, right? Is it really the right use of a retailer's money today? Or if you don't do it? So I'm asking you that.
Mm-hmm.
If they don't do it today, will then they really be out of the game in 2 or 3 years? Do you have to do it today to be in the game?
No, you don't have to do it today to be in. The question is, you have to do AI to be in the game today. It's expensive. It's risky. We're up against it. There's channel shifts, store closures, and the like, right? That's the question. No, you don't have to do it today. But you need to, but the things that you should you need to do in order to have an AI capability are things you should be doing anyway, right? You should be able to get more, you should be able to use your data better, right? You should drive to a a data-driven culture, right? So the cultural things that are requirements for gaining value out of AI are things that you ought to be doing already, right? And one of the things that AI is really fundamentally focused on is being able to make trade-offs and understanding bigger pictures of things and opening the circle of consideration, if you will, of what needs to be considered when you are making a decision. And oftentimes, retailers, and Charlie, when he was talking about attribution, alluded to that very, very articulate, in a very articulate manner for attribution. You can't you can't be too narrow. You got to expand the circle so you understand the right trade-offs that you're making. Great retailers are able to do that. Great companies are able to do that. And the complexities. Is there a question over there? Yeah.
Do you see many best practices for the initial stage where the AI is clumsy and it sort of gives you bad rep of the sort of recommendations that's shooting out? If you're a good store, if you're a good brand, and suddenly you're doing clumsy recommendations, how do you get through that faster, or how do you?
So recommendations with respect to, say, promotions and so forth, or recommendations that it would give me as a business user to improve the decision that I would make.
Right. One example would be personalization with recommendations to you on what to buy and so on. And
yeah.
again,
You always need to experiment. Experiment in a safe area, right? Because if you might get it wrong, but worse than that, you're going to disappoint people, and you're going to drive in confidence will be eroded. Things do fail, right? But just because something fails first doesn't mean it won't work ever, and doesn't mean we're not going to drive tremendous results. So the real risk isn't the immediate failure. The real risk is the withdrawal of confidence and the withdrawal of funding to the project going forward. Yes, sir.
Hi there. There's a really good study from the RIC17 Consumer Lab.
Uh-huh.
And what they do is they project. So very much like in 2006, you could say there was going to be the impact of mobile. Basically, the way that they're looking at it is we're going into an AI-first world. Very much like there was a mobile-first world, we're going to an AI-first world. So anyone who, it's the RIC17 Consumer Lab, and they basically look at the top 10 trends, and AI is at the center of it, very much like your chart there. So I think when we think of acronyms like mobile first or artificial intelligence, the words can cause confusion.
Yeah.
But look at Amazon. Amazon already is AI enabled. So
well, I really like AI first rather than mobile first, because mobile's a screen, mobile's a channel, and if you don't have what you're saying through the mobile right in the first place, you can be first. You can be wrong first. Right? So mobile it's got to be AI first and AI driven. I agree 100%. It says 0 on the clock. Thank you so much for your attention.